When consumers in Canada are buying vehicle fuels or getting on flights, there is a high probability that a proportion of that could be made from Russian crude.
Let's map out how we got here.
Hey guys, welcome to the video. Got another video today for you on Danielle Smith. I just want to thank everybody that's subscribed so far. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe the video. It really helps out so I can make more of these videos for you. But let's jump into it, okay? Danielle Smith put out a tweet that said Central and Eastern Canadians have unknowingly been funding the Russian government purchasing their oil, enabling their fight against Ukraine. The Russians have been using their shadow fleet to avoid detection by refining their oil in intermediary countries, then exporting it to Canada. A true Team Canada approach means addressing these critical security concerns. It's time to build Energy East and Northern Gateway pipeline to displace Russian oil and achieve energy independence, and diversify our customer base in Canada moving forward. And then she links to this CBC article, which actually goes into it. And I'm just gonna play the video for you to see.
Jamnagar. Russian oil is coming into Canada on tankers like this, despite widespread sanctions. Using trade data and satellite imagery to monitor marine traffic, our investigation tracks how hundreds of millions of dollars of Russian oil is finding its way into Canada, some with the help of Russia's shadow fleets.
When consumers in Canada are buying vehicle fuels or getting on flights, there is a high probability that a proportion of that could be made from Russian crude.
Let's map out how we got here. In February 2022, shortly after Russia invades Ukraine, Canada, the US, and UK put bans on all Russian crude and refined petroleum products. But years later, the Russian oil industry is still going strong, fueling Vladimir Putin's war, in part because of a loophole. Once these tankers carrying Russian crude end up in ports like this in India, they're mixed with other crudes and refined into things like jet fuel and gasoline. It then technically becomes a product of India, even if a portion of the oil is of Russian origin. So sanctions no longer apply. And since the start of the war, based on estimates by the Centre for Research on Energy and Clean Air, Canada imported roughly 2.5 million barrels of Russian oil, worth about $250 million.
With those tax revenues earned by Russia from the sale of oil products to Canada, we estimate that over 3,200 new recruits could be employed by the Russian state. The Jamnagar refinery is the largest refinery in the world. After sanctions were implemented, it has completely shifted its supply chain towards Russia. Canada's imports of oil products coming from Jamnagar have increased around 35% in the most recent year of 2024 compared to pre-invasion levels of 2021. The quantities are so large coming in from Russia, a proportion of the products made will be from Russian origin molecules.
That same refinery, Jamnagar, also gets some of its oil from Russia's growing shadow fleet. The tankers are known to evade sanctions, fly under the flags of other nations, obscure their tracking signals, and launder oil by doing ship-to-ship transfers. Hundreds of these vessels have been sanctioned by the US and UK. Take the example of a shadow tanker named Legacy. In early September, the vessel is seen here as it's about to receive a crude shipment from the Ust-Luga port in Russia.
The tanker left the Russian port here of Ust-Luga. It took around 100,000 tons of Russian crude oil through the Baltic states.
Weeks later, on October 6th, in this satellite image, the Legacy is now near the service port of the Jamnagar refinery, about to unload that shipment. In the last half of 2024 alone, close to 80% of the oil that ends up in Jamnagar from Russia was via shadow tankers. India-based Reliance Industries, which owns Jamnagar refinery, did not respond to our requests for comment. From there, some of that Russian oil likely ends up in shipments like this. This is the Lilac Victoria, after leaving Jamnagar in December. It's carrying over 50,000 barrels of blending fuel, en route to the Everwind Point Tupper refinery in Nova Scotia. Everwind said in a statement it stores liquid petroleum products for North American customers. It continually monitors and is committed to strict compliance with all applicable laws and regulatory obligations. That shipment by the Lilac Victoria is the most recent to Canada, but we flag 18 other tankers carrying shipments prior to that from Jamnagar and from this Turkish port that also uses Russian oil, arriving at refineries in Nova Scotia, at the Port of Montreal, near Quebec City. Millions of barrels of jet fuel and gasoline. SOCAR, the owner of the Turkish refinery, did not respond to our requests for comment. In January, the US sanctioned more Russian oil producers and shadow fleet tankers. It's not clear whether these new measures will affect the Russian war effort, though. We reached out to Global Affairs about our investigation and didn't get a response. While the amount of oil imported from Turkey and India is small compared to what we bring in from the US, it shows just how easy it is to get Russian oil into Canadian markets, despite far-reaching international sanctions.
Yeah, damn. You know? So, I mean, it's pretty clear there, guys. The Russian oil's getting in, and this comes back to what Pierre Poilievre said. When he was asked about, Danielle Smith and if he supports her. And here's what he said.
That the first thing that President Trump should do when he gets into the Oval Office is to send a big bouquet of flowers to the Liberal government in Ottawa. By blocking pipelines and LNG plants in Canada, the Liberals have forced Canadians to sell almost all of our energy to the United States, giving President Trump massive leverage in making these tariff threats. Had they allowed the Energy East and Northern Gateway pipelines to go ahead, had they rapidly approved LNG plants to sell the natural gas that Japan, Greece, Germany, and other countries were looking for us to sell them directly, we wouldn't have to give 100%, almost 100% of our hydrocarbons to the Americans at discount prices, and you wouldn't have had to ask me that question. Because I would have answered, in that scenario, I would have answered, we'll go around the Americans. We'll sell our energy directly. But that's something that the Liberals would not let us do.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right, guys. I think our oil's better than Russian oil, Saudi oil, some of the other options that are out there, Venezuela, like, who are we supporting? So I think we really need to build those pipelines. I really hope, Pierre Poilievre's been championing this, and he's been saying that we need to get these pipelines built. And I would say I have to agree 100%. You're even seeing now the Liberals saying, oh, they're going to cut the carbon tax, this and that. It's not enough. Okay, we need to build the pipelines. We need to diversify. If anybody thinks that what's going on in the States is a 4-year thing, you're just not paying attention. The Americans have changed. Okay, they're not the reliable partners they were in the past, and we need to diversify. We need to diversify as quickly as possible. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. It really helps the video. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.